Now before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The devil had already put into the heart of Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray him. And during supper, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given him all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was tied around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered, "You do not know what I am doing, but later you will understand." Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no share with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not my feet, but also my hands and my head." Jesus said to him, "One who has bathed does not need to wash except for the feet, but is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you." For he knew who was to betray him. For his reason he said, "Not all of you are clean." After he had washed their feet, had put on his robe, and had returned to the table, he said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example, and that you also should do as I have done to you. Very truly I tell you, servants are not greater than their master, nor any messengers greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them. Now the Son of Man has been glorified, and God has been glorified in him. If God has been glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and will glorify him at once. Little children, I am with you only a little longer. For you will look for me, and as I said to the Jews, now I say to you, where I am going, you cannot come. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." Good morning, friends. So the reason I shared with you that lengthy passage from the Gospel of John is because, quite frankly, it's one of my favorite passages. I believe it epitomizes the gospel. It tells how we are to live out our faith as Christians, to go beyond just beliefs, to put our faith into practice. But it also has a very sentimental place in my heart. About 10 years ago, I attended the Laity Academy as I was going to be a Christ servant minister. And we went over this passage, and the instructor encouraged us to live out, to demonstrate, to practice exactly what Jesus had told his disciples. So we were given a paper towel and told that we were to wipe the feet as another person, as we felt called to do so. Now, we didn't scrub their feet. We had a paper towel, and we were to wipe their shoes, or if they're wearing sandals, their feet. And in fact, my wife says I hang on to things way too long, and now I have T-shirts that are older than my children. But in my wallet here, the wallet that I've had since then, so about 12 years ago, I think, or maybe 10, I don't know, is this paper towel. Not a lot of money in here, but this paper towel has been in my wallet since that day. This is the paper towel. It's getting quite brown, a little bit brittle, but this is the paper towel that I used in that activity. And at that time, I was struggling as I was a police officer, sort of trying to figure out if I was being called into ministry or not. But that moment, that exercise, that living out of the gospel is what solidified that I knew God was calling me into ministry, because I was a police officer. I shared that with the group, but the two people's feet that I wiped, and they also reciprocated and wiped my feet, was a mother and daughter. They were black. I am obviously very white. I was a police officer, and the mother was a former prostitute and drug addict, and the daughter was a product of her prostitution. So I felt moved, and I wiped her feet, and like I said, and then her daughter's, and then they wiped mine as well. And ever since that moment, I knew I would follow my calling from God to become an ordained elder in the United Methodist Church. And here is that paper towel that I look at frequently when I'm going into my wallet, and just a reminder that nobody really cares about your belief. They don't care about your doctrines. They care about your faith. And that's what I hear in that passage from John. Nobody cares about your doctrine of the Trinity, salvation. Show them God. Be the living example of Jesus Christ that someone else sees. Nobody cares about if you're a Democrat or Republican, or where you grew up, or where you're living now. Jesus doesn't even care about your nationality or ethnicity. Instead, he says, "This is a new command that I give to you, to love one another." He doesn't say if they're from so-and-so or not from here or there. In fact, Jesus pretty much tells us and shows himself that he goes where regular folk don't usually go. He tells us to pray for our enemies. He tells us to go, in his case, to Samaria. That is definitely the other people, the other crowd, those people on the other side of the tracks, right? And that's what I love about this new commandment. He doesn't care about all these categories and divisions and walls that we build up, these boundaries. Whatever sort of division that we have made as humanity, Jesus says, I don't care. Go and love one another just as I have loved you. And that's why I love this passage. Anytime I look at this paper towel, that is what I remember. I remember those two women, and they also wiping a white police officer's feet. This was during a time when police brutality and excessive force was running rampant in the news. And I was extremely moved, and God was there in that moment, and God led all of us to break down those barriers and divisions that the culture and the world that we live in, society, says that we need to have. But Jesus says, go and love one another. I don't care about your skin color, your political affiliation, or how much money you make. Go and love one another. Friends, thanks for tuning in again during this Holy Week, one of my favorite times of the entire year. Stick around. We have some beautiful music from Lisa Hoops and Christopher Rogers, our organist. And also, if you are desiring a Easter sunrise service, now we know we're in different times right now, I'm going to offer a Easter sunrise devotional video for Easter Sunday, and you'll be able to find that in the same locations that you've been finding the other devotional videos on YouTube and also on Facebook. So please stick around. Enjoy Here I Am, Lord, appropriate for our text today, and God be with you until we meet again. So a woman called her son on a Sunday morning to make sure he was out of bed and ready for church. The son answered and says, "Mom, I'm not going to church today, and you can't make me. Give me one good reason why I should go to church." The mom replied, "I'll give you 3. First of all, you're a grown man, and you should know better. Second of all, I'm your mother, and I say you're gone. Third of all, you need to be there. You're the pastor."